Welcome to the AJ Brown Show, where we talk about all things investing, options trading, and the like. Now here's your host, AJ, whose primary mission in life is to help you become a better investor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the AJ Brown Show. My name is Cyprian Francis, and with me, as always, the guy we named the show after, the guru, the head honcho, AJ Brown. Good morning, AJ.
Hey, Sip. Glad to be here.
Today is August 25th. We're getting out of that summer doldrums, episode 95. I think on the top of your notes today, you said there's a lot going on, right? A lot of things starting to push the market that could potentially create some opportunities for us. But AJ, where do you want to start? What is kind of the topic for the week that traders, investors should take away?
I mean, the big topic of the week, of course, is that there is no main topic and that traders are being swayed left and right, up and down by each little mini topic that gets released. We started with the bank stocks. The bank stocks kind of S&P downgraded quite a few banks. And so that hit the financial sector pretty hard on Tuesday. Retail earnings kind of disappointed, although some companies, individual companies like a Lowe's, for instance, did pretty well. But a lot of companies had disappointing earnings, meaning people aren't going and buying retail specialties. On Thursday, we had durable goods orders, and they were very much down. Better than expected, but down, which means that people aren't out there buying durable goods or things like furniture or things that washing machines, things you only buy once every 5 to 10 years versus buying over and over again, like consumables. So that's down. But then again, Jerome Powell has been speaking for the last hour. I've been trying to check in with him. I'll probably check into some of the summaries of his speech, trying to see where he's at. A lot of hints are wondering what the heck is going to happen with inflation and with the Federal Reserve, all of these things, but they're all like little tiny tidbits of information. And so that's causing investors to go up, down, up, down. A lot of uncertainty right now.
And if we pull up the S&P 500, the main driver or the main gauge of the overall market, last show and maybe even the show before, we started to see this top form, and we had low volume, right, due to the summer. So is activity coming back into the market? What are we seeing on the levels? Is there opportunity to take advantage of a position like this? Because that's the whole reason we have the show, is to look at positions and setups like this and dig in. So from a S&P perspective, do we have more room to the downside? Have we created a top?
Well, we have created a top, and we were wondering, as of last show, where have we gone? You can see the last 5 bars have been a little bit up. We had an up bar, a down bar, an up bar, a big down bar yesterday. Today, so far, it's coming a little bit down. One of the things you'll notice that my move from reversal to reversal is still colored yellow. What that means is that I haven't confirmed that this low close back on August 18th is going to be the lowest close. You can look at my confirming indicator, and I like to use just a simple 3 and 5 day exponential moving average. If you take a look at this, the 3-day EMA barely crossed above the 5 and then immediately came back. And we call that kind of a false test. In other words, we didn't consider that a confirming indicator. And so we went up a little bit. We expect it to go down even further. Now, there's this level that I've been watching at about 4,350. And this level marks for me whether or not we're going to start seeing the beginnings of an ideal downtrend, or whether we're going to be in a stalled sideways market for the foreseeable future. And so I've been watching this level as we kind of loiter around it. We haven't yet crossed below it with well, we haven't yet crossed below it, but we haven't yet crossed below it with any sort of um, conviction either. We just keep kind of skirting at it. And so I'm watching this level. We'll see where we close today, but this will tell me whether or not, to expect going into September just some sideways, choppy, stalled market as investors try to figure out what's going to happen next, or whether we actually do pick up speed in the down direction.
Now we're coming off of earnings season, right? And we're still getting a few names that came out this week. A few big ones that I saw headlines on were Nvidia, some Dollar Tree news. Does the end of that earnings season and the end of summer and us heading into September and back to school and kind of like, does that timing have any potential impact on whether we could rally back to new highs or continue back to the downside?
I mean, what we will see is a tick up as we close out the summer. We're going to see a tick up of interest in focusing, just like football season is starting. I think investors and traders alike, retail traders, will be getting back into the markets in the fall season. But there's less, we start to get cooler temperatures. People want to spend time indoors, and so they wind up spending more time in front of their machine looking at investment potentials. And so we'll probably see an uptick, but I don't think that's going to give us a indication as to whether there's going to be accumulation or buying or distribution, selling. I don't think that that's clear right now, and I don't think the market knows either. I mean, take a look at what investors' sentiment is regarding interest rate hikes. So if we take a look at this right here, there's a meeting coming up at the end of September by the Federal Reserve. And right now, investors are almost unanimously saying they're going to hold rates. But if we look at the two additional meetings that are happening in 2023, they've got one at the beginning of November and they've got one at the middle of December. So if we look at the beginning of November, you can see that investors are pretty much split 50-50 between holding rates and raising a quarter point. And then if you take a look at the 13th of December, the middle of December, investors again believe that there's going to be a quarter point rate hike. So pretty much what investor sentiment is that right now, coming towards September, we're not going to see any rate hikes by the Fed, but there is an expectation either in the beginning of November or in the middle of December that we'll have at least one additional rate hike. So long as the Fed kind of plays along with investor sentiment, I think that there's got to be something else happening in the bigger picture, even above earnings, even above some winners like Nvidia, doing really well. There's got to be something that either pushes the market higher or lower. Otherwise, I expect for the rest of 2023, if everything plays just like this, that we're going to be just skirting regarding the S&P 500 index. We're going to be skirting, I brought back up my chart, between this 4,350 and this 4,600 until 2024. Mark my words, I think that's what's going to happen.
In regards to that Nvidia, have you seen in like a similar example of everybody waiting so on the edge of their seat for earning? Like, it's almost like Nvidia's technology is so integrated in all these things, and it's, if they didn't do well, then AI and cybersecurity and all these other things didn't do well, but they did outperform, and they did so significantly. However, I saw that the tech sector didn't jump on that bandwagon.
No. Nvidia is in a unique place, and they have been in a unique place. I mean, the CEO has been in place for quite a while, and he has just the uncanny first of all, they have the engineers and they have the technology to be in the right place at the right time. They were in the right place in the right time for gaming. They were in the right place in the right time for crypto, and now they're in the right place in the right time for the AI boom. But a lot of people are worried because Nvidia is kind of got the monopoly on these type of chips that these new AI models are running on. They're not the only game, but they're the biggest one. And their chips are manufactured by only one manufacturer in Taiwan. And as we know, Taiwan and mainland China and all of the world is focused on that. There has been, even here in the States, some huge amount of government incentives to bring the manufacturing of these type of chips state bound. Right here, I think that there's some money being put into Ohio, but when that factory comes up and running, could be 3, 5, even 10 years from now. And so there's a lot of focus. And so, you know, this is a case where political and geopolitical skirmishes are now going to be influencing investor decisions, because you've got a company like NVIDIA who's relying on a contract manufacturer in Taiwan. It's just a recipe for possible disaster. So we have to be very careful. And as far as investors are concerned, like myself, I'm probably looking to not be focused on those ones that get into mainstream media, right? I like the boring stocks.
Yeah, and that's like a $500 stock, and it moves. So
I know.
like
My
playing.
wife's got quite a big portion of NVIDIA in her portfolio, so she's,
Oh,
watching that one all the time. I mean, she'll be up 80 grand, she'll be down 100 grand on daily and nightly basis. And I think about the way that I like to invest and I like to trade, and that's not it. I don't like to watch headlines.
well, we'll go over a couple examples here in a second. That's why we have the show. We'll go into some option strategies. I do have one last question that I think maybe new traders or new investors may be unfamiliar with, and that's the ramifications of this Jackson Hole. Like, what is
Mhm.
going on in Jackson Hole? Why should we even care?
Annual meeting, right? Face-to-face meeting of some of the most influential central bankers, not just here in the States, but all across the world. This meeting in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, a very small town, kind of sequestered away. These guys are really able to pull some levers that change the dynamics of the world. So every year, we always like to hear what's been happening in Jackson Hole, what the world leaders in the banking. I mean, if you think about it, uh, the folks that control money supplies, which are the central banks, they can really change the dynamics in not just any one individual economic power, but across the world. So it matters what these guys decide every year as their philosophy, as their focus for the upcoming year. Even more important, I would say, is what these guys decide versus even what like presidents and prime ministers throughout the world decide. So it gets a focus from investors. What did these guys talk about? There's always leaks and there's always, press conferences after the fact, and investors will hang on every word. But from our perspective, we like to take an idea of what's happening in Jackson Hole, what's happening in the overall broad market, and then we apply it to our investors. Here's my summary. My summary is probably for the rest of 2023. If you are a directional trader, somebody who likes to either guess that the stock or the ETFs or the markets are going to be going up or going down in a way that you could trade the price difference, it's going to be challenging for you, especially if you are an end of day trend trader, end of day directional trader, end of day swing trader, and especially if you are a medium to long term investor. And that's most of us, if you think about it. If you've got 401ks and we're picking mutual funds or picking individual ETFs that we're investing in for the long term, this could be problematic for the next, say, 3 to 6 months. But for folks who have strategies like options that can profit on more things than just the directional movement of the stocks the indexes, the ETFs, but we can profit on time passing by. We can profit on implied volatility changes. We're actually positioned quite well. So anybody who has that knowledge around how to use those investment vehicles, I think is going to be on the benefits side. And anybody who only knows how to trade up and down, unless you're being a day trader and you've got really tuned in to this on almost on a full-time basis, you're going to find it challenging to profit off of being an investor these next couple of months.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and give everybody an opportunity to learn exactly how to do what you said in terms of taking advantage of the volatility, using the wonderful tool of options to get into these positions to the upside, to the downside, the movement in general. I believe there's 27, 28, 26 different ways to trade options. There's a lot of different ways to use options to take advantage of these movements, these non-movements, even the uncertainty. And AJ's put together a wonderful webinar where he digs into 4 of his strategies that essentially turn your investment dollars almost into like a paycheck, like a weekly, a monthly paycheck. And so if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, we just threw the link into the chat. So head on over there to learn a little bit more about that. If you're interested in getting AJ's take on any names that you're looking at, we are running live right now. So feel free to throw that ticker into the chat. And if we have some time, we'll get to it. Otherwise, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with not really our trending topic, but something cool that you want to show us. We'll get into AJ's pick of the week. We'll do our speed round, and we'll try and find you guys some winners. So stay tuned.
I get it. You're afraid of trading in the markets. Guess what? I've got your answer. I've got 4 strategies I'm going to give you along with the tools to make it super easy. I'm going right home, giving you the webinar. I need you to sign up below and meet me in a few minutes.
All right. More and more, we're starting to get some geopolitical news coming out from all different parts of the world. And that leads us to a fun game tool that you came across that, gives us a little bit more enlightenment into these topics. Yeah.
Yeah. So, first of all, kind of a backgrounder. You're right. There's so much going on. Like, for instance, one of the things I've been watching is that even though interest rates are going up, traditionally, when the US raises interest rates, the US dollar becomes more valuable, and we see investors from around the world starting to use the US dollar. But we're not seeing that this time around. Rates are high here in the States, but in reality, compared to other countries, especially big European nations, as well as some of the burgeoning economies that are significant in the Far East and in Asia, uh, they're having to control inflation even with a greater iron fist than we are. And so what's happening is that because they're raising rates faster than we are and they're playing a little bit of catch up, our US dollar is not as valuable as it usually would be on a increase in our interest rates. So it's neat how the world economies all play together. And it's important that as investors, when we're trying to get an idea of what's happening here in the States and what's happening to our markets, our sectors, and even our individual stocks, that we do have insight on what's happening in the world. So with that said, I came across this game. I was introduced to this online game. It's a play on Wordle. I know that Wordle has become incredibly popular. It's a once a day game where you have a few chances to trade, to guess a word. This is called Tradle. And I see that you put the website for Tradle. You could also just Google it, but you put the website into our chat. It's really neat. So it gives you this breakdown, and you guys probably are familiar with this type of weighted picture of how portfolios are evaluated. This is the case of a country's exports. So they give you the ideas of a country. Let's see, diamonds are 6.52%, refined petroleum 12.2%, and then you start to see packaged medical mints is 4.7, and you kind of are like, what country could this be? And so you place a guess, and so maybe I'm guessing because we've got refined petroleum. Pick a location.
South America.
You want to try South America?
Well, no, just that's the continent. I'm guessing because of the diamonds, potentially the diamonds and
South America
12%
or
oil.
South Africa?
Well, it's a country in South America, right? That's kind of what I'm getting to, or at least that would be my guess. Maybe like a Venezuela. I mean,
all right, let's give it a try. Venezuela, and so we'll click guess, and then it thinks about it, and it says Venezuela. So they're saying go west or go east. I'm sorry, and you have to go east about 15,000 kilometers. So I almost feel like they're telling us to jump over to Africa, the continent of Africa, and look at an African country. And so you'll get, it looks like you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guesses. So now we would move over to Africa. If you want to really challenge yourself, you would not do this with a world map. But if you're AJ Brown, you pull up a world map, right?
Well, that's cheating. No,
I cheat a lot. I don't even know, I'm not sure. So we're talking about Venezuela, and they told us to go east. So I almost feel like it's one of these. And since it looks like, if we come on back to this, if it looks like refined petroleum, it probably is going to be some sort of coastal country, right? And diamonds. So I come on back to my map. I almost wonder if it's something like Liberia or Sierra Leone or something like that, or Angola. But I'm thinking Sierra Leone, and so I'll try that as an answer. And it basically tells you like what direction to look if you're. Let's see what we got here. Sierra Leone. Oh, we're getting closer. They still want us to go east. So petroleum, you're right. It might be a Middle East country. They want us to go quite a big notch. So if we're here in Sierra Leone, what are we thinking? Somewhere over here, like
I mean, that was barely 6,000 miles from Venezuela, right? I mean,
miles, but remember they're giving us it in kilometers. So kilometers are a little bit shorter than miles. So 9.7 thousand kilometers. So you come on back over here. I think we're somewhere in the Middle East. Who has diamonds and also oil? I don't know.
one of them coastal countries, like you said, but
yeah,
the opposite coast.
Of the opposite coast. So maybe we're talking about something like Eritrea, which is north of Ethiopia. I don't know.
Well, there's no way 420 billion in exports,
right?
Isn't that the number at the top?
403 billion. Yeah. That's what I've got here, 403 billion. I'll zoom in a little bit for you guys so you can see what we're thinking here. So it's got to be, should we say something like a Saudi Arabia?
That seems like a low number to me for Saudi Arabia. I mean, they're paying Ronaldo, 500 million.
Yeah, that's true. So it's not. Let's try Sudan.
We'll try
Sudan. Let's see what that tells us. Still need to go east by even further by another chunk. So we're getting closer. Let's see. Come on back to the map.
Something next to India or something. Like you still
right.
gotta get over there.
And it's oil, and it's also it's Oman.
Well, let's give that a last test. Go ahead, throw Oman in there, and then we'll let the viewers play around because it seems like we could be on this for quite some time.
Oh, we're so close. I'm gonna quickly throw in Pakistan.
I think Pakistan's too big.
Pakistan's too big. Okay, I got to do one more. How about Myanmar? Am I
Hey,
going too far?
no.
Okay, let's try it. And then I promise I'll be done. I'm almost out of guesses anyway. I got to
Still.
go back in the other direction.
Oh,
So if it's not Myanmar,
it's definitely not.
Bangladesh.
But it's definitely not India.
Yeah, no, India is too big. And okay, this is my last guess. Bangladesh. Nope, I didn't get it. India. It is India.
It is. Oh my God, that number doesn't seem realistic.
403 billion.
Yeah, they got 3 billion people, right? Like, I got like 1.2 billion people alone.
It's exports. It's not It's not like GDP. It's exports. That's interesting. So for all of you out there, I'd love to, and you can definitely comment on our different properties here in YouTube and things like that. Let us know as you play the game every day. And I think we just gave the answer for today, so we probably ruined it for people, but I couldn't stop. I can't stop.
Hey, I hope everyone logs in tomorrow, gives it a go, right? Because it refreshes every day, right?
It refreshes every day.
All right, OC Tradle.
OEC.world/EN/Tradle. I would just Google trade, TRADLE. I wound up Googling trade Wordle, and this came up. And it's just, I got turned on to it, and I've been playing it for like 2 or 3 days. I have to be honest, I haven't gotten it right once yet, and I've had to cheat with the world map. But it's really enlightened me about all the different influences, especially on, different products that we at the U.S. then bring together and make into finished products. It's been quite interesting.
All right, so let's go ahead and dig into your pick of the week. I did see an interesting news article come out yesterday that Tesla here in Los Angeles got approved for a diner drive-in electric charging station, like gas pumping area. Well, not gas pumping, but like entertainment, like chill area to recharge their cars. And the concept was really cool. We'll throw it on the Twitter if anybody wants to check it out. But the reason that I bring that up is because your pick of the week is a company that's trying to compete with Tesla, and they seem to be doing all right. And that is General Motors, ticker symbol GM. And so let's dig into your approach to trading using options premium. And why do you like the setup in GM? What should we be looking for?
Okay. GM, and I featured this a few times on this show. You can see that GM, ever since about July 11th of last year, so a little bit over a year, they've been in this sideways channeling between about $30 and $40 a share. Now, I remember when I was part of the higher management at Hewlett Packard, I would sit in on meetings, and Hewlett Packard, they would actually, strategize their earning. They actually had people that they employed. When you're a bigger company, you actually have people that you employ that helps you craft your earnings announcement, right? You don't just release earnings and speak off the cuff. Everything is quite strategic. And it was intentional at Hewlett Packard what was said, because they wanted to keep their stock price in a certain range, right? And so I would imagine General Motors being much larger than a Hewlett Packard, that they do this strategy as well. And so I feel like the company itself is very happy with their stock price in between $30 and $40. They keep their investors happy, both with issuing a dividend, and they keep enough money floating around in their company, which is the original reason why companies are listed on the stock market, is to find a broad swath of investors. They keep enough money in their coffers to keep the company going at a pretty nice pace. So with that said, let's bring us back into the current. I'm going to zoom in here to maybe a 3-month chart. You can see here that there's about to be a dividend issued for anybody who's owned the stock for a while now. But you can see that GM is coming down here at around the $33 mark, and I've listed that as a potential line of support. And if I throw some of my lagging indicators in place, one of my favorite is this fast MACD. You can see a couple of days ago, I got a crossing of the fast MACD line over the MACD difference or divergence line. And so I've been looking for opportunity. Now, I've already got GM in my portfolio. So there's a couple things you can do when a bottom is found in a sideways choppy market. First of all, you can add more stock, do some dollar cost averaging and add more to your position, or you can set up an initial position. And so I'm planning on doing some of that. And for options, if you want to be able to use options, you know you have to do everything in lots of 100. So if you're going to buy some stock, buy it in increments of 100. If you're going to do some option trades, realize that a option contract is actually 100 option shares. In the markets, everything is traded in lots of 100. So if you're instead of buying the GM stock, and I like having the GM stock in my portfolio for the long term, but instead of buying that, an alternative would be to find some deep in the money, far out in time. And I'm talking about going at least April 2024 or farther out and go very deep in the money. That would create a very good substitute to the stock. And you could buy that for a cheaper price than buying the shares of stock. So if you wanted to do that instead, I could see you doing that at a bottom as well. So setting up an initial position, and or you could dollar cost average add to your initial position. If you were short GM, maybe when GM was at a higher price, closer to $41, you shorted GM, now would be the time to sell some GM premium, right? So we sell covered puts. If you shorted the stock or if you bought some put substitutes, you could now sell put options and create your income stream. So this would be a good time to do that. If you did that, I would also offset it by buying some protective call options. Those would be options that we buy that are about 6 months out. So January, February timeframe for their expiration. And I would use out of the money options. So I would probably use like a 40, 41, 42 strike price. Finally, the other thing you could do is you could actually not finally, I've got 2 more things you can do. You could be rolling out of protective calls right now. So I'm sorry, out of protective puts right now. So if you had already bought some protective puts, now would be the time to roll out of them. That means sell them back at hopefully a break even or a profit and get ready to buy some newer ones at a future signal. And finally, if you wanted to, this would be also a good time to use naked put strategy, a cash secured put strategy to buy some GM stock on your terms. So all of those different things could be done right now on GM. And if you're new to the GM stock or you haven't actually planned out a good trade on GM, like we've talked about in previous shows, this is a great time to start paper trading GM to kind of get a feel of how GM moves. But this is great timing. I'm waiting for the good signal. I thought maybe I got a good signal about Wednesday, three trading days ago on Wednesday, but it didn't pan out. So I'm still every day I've been looking for the best opportunity. I've been I call them follow through rules, Sip. I look for during the trading day for some simple rules to be met. And if so, I go for the position. And so far, I get to the end of every trading day and those rules are not met. And therefore, my order isn't ever put in place. But if those rules are met, I'm going to be dollar cost averaging, buying some more of that stock right now.
All right. Well, GM's a name I know that we've covered a handful of times.
I'm very happy with GM, both long-term and short-term.
And there's definitely those ranges, and if we were to go back, I'm sure you've got them, but we don't necessarily need to do that. I did want to show you that diner, that Tesla dine-in.
Yeah.
The only reason that I'm bringing this up is because GM is actually trying to be innovative with the electric cars and the charging. And it's just kind of cool to think that the future is going to be very electric and there's going to be these products. So glad to see that GM and these these legacy companies are really starting to adapt and form our future. So that's AJ's pick of the week, General Motors. Now we're gonna go ahead and dig into our speed round. These are a few names that users, members, fans from across the world have asked us, and we've plucked out a few to go over. Our first one comes from way up north. This is from Juneau, Alaska. This is Rob interested in, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're wearing them, AJ. CROX, ticker symbol CROX. CROX. Do you own a pair of CROX?
I absolutely do not.
Have you ever worn them?
I have not.
Oh
But
my God, they're so comfortable.
I can't believe you're saying that. I hope my wife is not watching this, because she's actually been threatening to buy our little one a pair of Crocs, and I keep putting my foot down and saying I don't want my little one wearing Crocs. But she's brought up the whole comfort argument, and she usually wins. So, and
Hey,
that's probably a good thing.
They're cute too. You could put like little pins on them, right? The girls, the kids
I
love them.
know. Our neighbor has a little 5-year-old, and he's always got different pins on them, and I find it not something.
Well, that
interesting to me.
means it's in the news, and so does that indicate that that's a stock or a name that you would avoid if it's all over the place? Are we seeing an opportunity to get in?
Well, hey, listen, and this is Rob up in Alaska. In Juneau, by the way, I visited it about 14 years ago. Absolutely beautiful town. So Crocs, let's see. Crocs is trading a little bit below its level of support, but it looks like it's finding support. One thing you guys might want to keep in mind here is if you have a sideways channeling symbol, right? What I like to do is I like to identify, and I have a couple of different methods that I especially go over with my trading participants. I like to identify where the support and resistance might be. And then about 40% of the way, so you take the distance between support and resistance, 40% above and 40% below your channel creates a zone that has a probability, if price dips down there, it's likely to come back and cross the channel. And so I always ask my participants to watch that zone. So if we zoom in here on my chart to about a 3-minute, if we zoom into about a 3-month chart, you can see that we're hovering around that 40% zone. And I didn't even nail that very correctly. So our zone may be even a little bit lower than that as I pull this thing up and down a little bit. It might actually be right here. Look at that 40% range below the channel and above the channel, and be okay with price going in that range, because so long as it stays within that range, the probability that it might reverse back across the channel is still there. With that said, we're just now testing the bottom of that range, as you can see on my chart. This would be a great opportunity for you to buy some of this stock. It is expensive. And so make sure that, you calculate what your potential losses are on this stock, and make sure you have enough of a risk appetite for your portfolio that if you had a trade that went awry, that it wouldn't break the bank. That's one thing. Usually for this expensive of a stock, you're going to need a portfolio that's greater than about $75,000. I'm just throwing that number from my experience. If you did the actual math, you'd find out exactly how much you needed. But this is usually a bigger portfolio stock to be able to trade options on. With that disclaimer aside, I think we got a signal that there might have been a bottom found back on August 21st. It doesn't look like that signal has confirmed yet. It's just like my GM. So I would be watching it day in and day out to see if a bottom is found. And if so, same thing like with my GM. This might be a good time to be buying some CROX stock, buying some CROX stock substitutes, or starting the process of doing cash secured puts, buying the stock at your desired price, and if not, getting paid a preliminary income. So I can see the opportunity, but this is a rich man's stock.
And if you're trying to be the coolest guy on the block, you can also buy a pair of Crocs and go outside and mow the lawn and grab the paper and show off that very
Not
stylish
only be an
fashion these
investor,
days.
be a customer as well. I'm not just the owner of Hair Club. I am a user. There used to be a commercial on about 20 years ago on TV where it was a company that regrows your hair or something like that. And it always, at the end, it was the president who said, "I'm not just the owner. I'm also a user." And he'd show his hairline. So I'm not just an investor in Crocs. I'm an actual customer, and you can put your foot up in front of the camera.
And they're not cheap, for being just a plastic shoe. They're not cheap.
Well, look at the earnings, dude. This company makes money. So obviously the cost in order to make a pair of Crocs and the price that they sell it for, there's got to be some big profit margins to have that much, even on $100 stock, to be offering every quarter your investors 4% returns. That means that pretty much at the end of the year, an investor who simply buys Crocs stock is making 12 to 15% in dividends. That's really high. So this company must be doing something right.
All right. Thanks, Rob, for giving us that heads up on
Have
Crocs.
fun in Juneau, man. There's some nice glaciers there.
Yeah, it's probably beautiful up there this time of the year. All right, we're gonna stay in that part of the world. Moving on to Pete from St. John, Newfoundland. He's interested in a name I'm not too familiar with, and that's Bausch Health, ticker symbol BHC.
Yeah. Bausch, like Bausch and Lomb. That they make eye stuff. So like eye drops, they
Okay.
make contact lenses, Bausch and Lomb. And Newfoundland, it is up north, but of course it's on the other side of the continents. It's over there on the Atlantic Ocean. So yeah, cool. Let me go back. You guys, when I'm looking at a stock, what I like to do is I like to go farther back until I find where, and this is a form of very simple back testing. I like to see where the trend change happened. Oh, so it's clear when I go to a 2-year daily or a 2-year weekly chart that we had some sort of something happen around May of 2022. And since then, Bausch and Lomb has been trading at this $7.50 range. So if you're wanting to invest in this, I would go back to the news headlines at that point and find out what happened. Was there a divestiture? Was there a merger? Was there something in the headlines? By visiting the news headlines, and you can do that on a Yahoo News or any free site. You can go back in time and look at the headlines from around May of 2022 and find out what happened. But it has put Bausch into a sideways, choppy channeling. So now that we know about that, we're going to come back to our 6-month daily chart. And so this is nice. I like that. Again, this is in contrast to Crocs. This one is trading in the single dollar range. It's above the penny stock price, which is $5 or lower. So it's above that, which makes me feel more confident. It looks like it's trading up to about $9.50 and down to about $7. Yeah, I like this. One of the things that I want to emphasize here, when I'm with my program participants, we try to find these symbols that are going between support and resistance quite religiously, and we try to get as close to getting in at the bottom and as close to doing our transactions, our premium selling transactions at the opposite reversal. And what that does for us is that really emphasizes reward, it minimizes risk, and it makes it so that we can stay in this trade for months to come. But that's like taking it to the nth degree. That's like if you're really focusing on making sure that you have, the least amount of ongoing maintenance to your portfolio and can really keep the consistent returns going. If you're just trying to do some really nice premium trades, all you really have to do to boost up the reward and minimize the risk in any kind of buy right covered call is simply create a little bit of distance and leg into the position instead of doing a buy right. So if I can buy my stock or buy my substitute option down here somewhere between $7 and $7.50, maybe even $8, and then sell the premium at $8.50 up to $9.50. If I could just create 50 cents or a dollar of distance, that's all I need to do to make a better rewarding, lower risk trade than if I did a buy right? And so a lot of folks get fixated on trying to hit the tops and the bottoms, and then it becomes problematic that they miss their opportunity to sell premium, and they wind up having a stock that gets stopped out because they were trying so hard. All you need is a little bit of difference between the one leg and the other, and that automatically boosts up reward and minimizes resistance. Options are very, very flexible. It becomes us who becomes too strict on following a particular procedure. With that said, BHC is trading right in the middle of its channel right now. And what I would do here is I would spend some time. This is Pete. Pete, I would take some time and do some planning. Whenever the symbol is right in the middle of its channel, for me, that's a planning time. I want to plan where would be low for me and where would be high, so I can get my timing on legging into this position right down pat. So I wouldn't be trading right this minute. Instead, I'd be looking for I like to write my plans down. So I would write down kind of a step by step, even put it on an index card. That's how I began trading, is having all my different trades on index cards. So I could quickly refer to what the rules were. And as I did each step, each leg of the position, I would just cross it out so I would stay clear. That's what I would be doing, would be filling out my, planning my trade so that I could then trade my plan. But this does look like it's got the underpinnings of a really good stock to be trading premium against. And so consider doing some premium trades, planning it out. This looks nice.
It's good to have a nice, cheaper stock into the mix so that we have a nice blend of different portfolio sizes. So, thank you, Pete, for that. We'll keep the party going. Moving on to our next name. This is Jen from Yuma, Arizona, interested in plant. Palantir Tech, ticker symbol PLTR. I butchered that. Palantir. Palantir.
Yeah. All right. Jen from Yuma. Boy, I bet you that's hot. That's like in the middle of the desert, isn't it? It's somewhere between San Diego and Tucson. Hot, hot, hot is what I remember about Yuma. Okay, cool. Let's do the same thing. Let's go back in time. So what we can see here when we look at the bigger picture, here's 2021, 2022. Around April of 2022, we started to go sideways. And then up here in May of 2023, we started to gain. And this is So looking at this bigger picture, we can see that this current sideways channel here is only the summer doldrums of 2023. And so this is not a mature sideways channel by any means. Now let's zoom in now that we've got the bigger picture in our mind. So here's that gain that we saw starting in May, and then it's been sort of going sideways. My definition of a sideways channel, something that we can trade reliably premium on, is that we have a minimum of 2 tests of support, which we do have. We're just testing that level of support at around $14 a second time, and 2 tests of resistance, which I would say we don't have yet. That would be up here around $20, and we only have that 1 test. So here's my thoughts on this one, Jen, out in the desert, is that I would do some paper trading on this guy. He's at a good price, but I wouldn't do any real money trading right now because I'm not sure that investors are sold yet, right, on where this should stop going up. Now, the alternative is if you've got some experience with this company and with this stock, if you did go ahead at this bottom that we're in, we got a signal for a bottom last, it looks like on August 22nd, and then it doesn't look like we actually got that signal to plan out here, to pay out. So we're waiting for follow-through rules on these particular trades to make it something we actually want to get into. If you did get into the stock, so you bought shares of, lots of 100 shares, if you did do that, you would be positioned that if resistance wasn't found at 20 and this stock continued to go higher, like I'm drawing here, you wouldn't need to sell premium. You'd actually wait for it. And again, I would say draw your lines between about 14 and 20, and that's $6. Take 40% of $6. That's about $2.40, $2.50. Bring yourself up to about $22.50. If you see the stock trading above $22.50, instead of trying to sell premium just when the top is found, just like you would on any directional trade, go ahead and sell your initial position and take your money and run. So turn this into a directional trade. So I could see you doing that, but I would say that if this stock just popped up on one of your screeners and you have no experience trading it, you don't know what's to come, what you might consider doing is creating some trade plans really quick around option trading, and then doing some paper trading along with other symbols. In other words, when you sit down at your trade computer or your trading station, some people I know now are trading off of their mobile device or off of their tablets. Wherever, when you sit down once a day in order to look at your positions, add this one to the mix. In other words, it doesn't take incrementally more time to evaluate an additional ticker. At least I have found that. So add this into the mix, and if it's doing what you expect to do better than some of the other symbols you're watching, then this is the one in the future that you might start trading. But again, if you do have some experience with it, you might have a trade setting up here that you could easily turn into a directional trade if it doesn't behave like a sideways channeling premium selling position.
All right. Thanks for that, Jen. And as always, if anyone has any follow-up questions, feel free to drop it in the chat, leave it in the comments, send us a DM, and we'll try to get to it. Someone on the team will try to get to it as soon as we can. AJ, I'm going to pull something up on the screen, and you tell me whether you saw this last night or not. Ready?
Yeah. The mugshot. That I wonder. Yes, I have seen it. I wonder if he spent some time, in front of the mirror ahead of showing up to get this picture
Like,
taken.
how am I going to do this, right? I should grin. I shouldn't smile, right?
Prepping, because you got to know that some people are going to use this in memes and create kind of some silly things, but other people are really going to buy into this picture and make t-shirts out of it and you know, start to believe on it. Where I have my beach house in South Carolina, they actually have billboards, in all seriousness, with his face glued on Superman's body flying across the billboard, because there's a lot of folks in South Carolina that are big fans. Whether you're a fan or not, I think that that was really an interesting mugshot. I could see him practicing that ahead of time. So
I
that's
could
cool.
too. What's crazy about it is this is on his own Twitter or X account, right? And his last tweet was January 8th, 2021. To all of those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. 2 years later, his mugshot. So
You know,
it's just an interesting time
it's
that we live in,
interesting.
right?
It's so interesting, but whether you're a fan or not, what I have found is the guy knows how to market himself. He knows exactly what to do to get folks to rally behind him. And that's what a good marketer does. A good marketer can figure out how to build a brand around any product or any person. And so you have to admit that that's amazing brand building right there. That picture alone, right?
Should this guy be president? Well, that's another question up for debate. You know, maybe stick to marketing your
I
mugshot
think
on.
people might be getting a little bit tired of the same old discussion. Even supporters might be like, "Can we move on?" I don't know. I'm not a big political follower, but I kind of want to move on myself.
Well, you know, I brought it up because it was a historic moment. It is going to be something that at least
It's
maybe
going to
one
be in
day
the
I'll tell
history
my
books.
kids. I remember August 24th when they arrested former President Donald Trump and he released his mugshot. Oh, really? That happened? Yes, that happened. That was a
That
real event.
happened. That absolutely just happened. Yep.
All right, AJ. Thank you for your time today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As always, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about Trading Trainer, trading options, and the program, we've got the links in the chat. Head on over to tradingtrainer.com as well and sign up there. We've got some freebies for you there. And heading into the weekend, AJ, any exciting plans? Anything we should be keeping an eye on? I know that Jackson Hole is still going on, but I think Powell finished his speech. So are we waiting for anything else? What should we be keeping an eye on?
Well, I'm going to be watching this General Motors. So again, I think that this is I'm still looking at those boring symbols, Sip. I think ahead of the September Labor Day, where we tend to see a lot of investors pile back into the mix around stock trading, I think I want to pile up on this General Motors stock. I want to be prepared to even sell more premium on it. Open up more positions against it. I think that this is a good symbol to be having in my portfolio, both short and long term. So I'll be looking for this, and I'll be looking at similar companies like General Motors for this upcoming week to see if this is the right time to be starting long-term positions on that.
So let's just make a note and maybe next week check in on that General Motors because there should be some movement. Otherwise, if you've enjoyed the broadcast, hit that like, hit that follow, hit that subscribe button. We do appreciate it. Especially the YouTube channel. We've got some really good content on there, some amazing shorter clips. If you don't want to watch the full episode, we've got some really good short clips. And with that, AJ, thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week.
For sure.
Thank you for tuning into the AJ Brown Show. If you're interested in learning more about AJ and his investing techniques, head on over to tradingtrainer.com and create your free account today. And if you're not already a subscriber to the show, hit that subscribe button and we'll get you fresh content daily.